no. We need to address what you said, and that's how we start building the bridges to come together, right? And that way we can start having these conversations more, right?
So can I ask a question? Can I ask you a question?
Uh-huh.
Because you mentioned inherently part. So do you think, or white people, as far as white Americans in this country, do you believe that they're born being racist, or do you think that that's a learned behavior?
Well, I think where I say inherently because the system will most likely benefits them, right? The system doesn't really benefit minority people. When you look at the numbers, I don't think it does, right? Now, I do believe, because I get a lot of pushback when I say this, right? But I do believe white people can experience systemic racism. I do. I will never, you will never hear me say anything outside that. But I do believe it affects the BIPOC community a little more restricted, right? That if I
So
can say.
that's a change from your previous position.
Mhm.
Because I remember before you said that you feel like white Americans couldn't experience racism on a systemic level, but
Mhm.
you're saying they can, is what you're
Well,
saying.
not like rate. I think what I'm saying is this: is you have systemic racism that can affect anyone, right? Because we all know that the top, you can, I don't care how you look at it, if you argue this here, then I don't think you understand how our system works, right? It's because you have the top 1%, right, that control everything. And what do? They build communities to keep people in, right? Give people low poverty, right? In both sides, right? We see that. And if you don't see that problem, then guess what? I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, all I would say is I partially agree with that statement. Kind of like, my position, like I said, I've told you this before. I believe that that top 1% that you speak of, they use race as like a tool. They use it
Yes.
as a tool to create division. And then I'll add this because I know there are other people on the panel, so I want to give them a chance to speak as well.
Mhm.
I'll say that racism, I believe, is an issue. However, it's a hyperinflated issue. It's
Right.
given more sort of credence than what it actually is. And again, it's the elites that use racial division by how they cover news stories, how they perpetrate certain ideas and propaganda, and not only in the mainstream media but in academia as well, that creates a sense or a level of division, not just between white people and black people in the U.S., but also between men and women as well. That's why you have this gender conflict. But I digress. I know other people want to talk, so
Yeah.
I digress.
No, but look, like I said, thanks for having me up. I do have to run. I appreciate the conversation. You have a good
All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys for coming up here. All right, guys. So, Detroit, what's up, man?
What's going on, man?
How's it going? I saw that we're friends. Have we had a conversation before?
No. Um,
No.
no, we never did. So I just got a question. What makes you feel like black people cannot be racist when history in school is all about taking from blacks and killing blacks? I mean, we have Black Wall Street that was destroyed from it. I mean,
Detroit. I'm sorry, man, but I can barely hear you, bro. I can barely hear
can you hear
you.
me?
I can hear
Can
you
you hear
better
me now?
now.
Okay, so
Yeah.
my question is okay, we have Black Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
We still get killed by cops. Um, I mean, you have even interracial people that date blacks. They also got to go through, the same treatment based on racism of, white people. So I don't understand of how can black people cannot be racist when you have a system that's built to destroy and to manipulate and control the black population. I mean, you had mentioned Obama. And one thing I realized with the propaganda, the agenda that they use certain black people to hush up the black community for you know, um, their own empowerment to keep, you know, black people from not knowing the truth of our real history. I mean, Black History Month is not controlled by us. So a lot of things, I mean, when you really look at the history, I mean, it's there. It's not deniable. White people the government, they make sure that we know that the fucked up shit that they do to us. So for us to not complain and not to be upset about it, it's like how's we at fault? It's like the topic is like basically like we wrong for saying the real truth. It's like how can racists be mad at us for the fucked up shit that they do? I just never understand that. It just don't make sense. All the history, like all the like it's all there. They even make movies about slaving black people. Like I never understand like how is this is okay, but then it's like okay, cool. So black people supposed to just shut up. Black people supposed to just shut the fuck up. Like they can't be racist.
No,
How can black people not be racist? That don't make sense.
Do you mind if
yeah,
I-
so
or no?
yeah, I'm gonna let Osa respond to that, but just so you know, Detroit, I'm not denying that America has been historically systemically racist or anything like that. I'm not denying none of that. But Osa, you can go ahead and respond to that, man.
No. So I was gonna say to the brother, I don't think it's wrong to speak on any type of injustice. That's obviously there are things that happened within the history of the United States that need to be addressed. So that's not wrong to mention it. I just think that we need to get and have a foundation where I think both sides can come together to have common ground, so that way we can have conversations in regards to the matter. Because I believe strongly that there are forces that are out there that are trying to consolidate power, and the way they do that is by sowing discord and creating division. So we have to start there first, I would say, and build a foundation and build from there.
Detroit, did you want to respond to that, or do you want
Can
to
I
pass the
speak?
mic
Wait, can I speak?
to Ari? Sure, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, with like your topic, I think it's kind of confusing when you say black people can be racist and there's no good excuse for racism. Just because I believe that maybe I don't even like to say we can be racist, but if we're gonna go according to your definition, we can be, but that doesn't mean that people like you can still experience racism, because I feel like that's more of a system than just a me judging you based on your race.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So, to you, I want to kind of get your idea. What is the definition of racism?
Well, for me, I think racism is more of a system than like a just a like a prejudice, like racist. I really don't even know the definition of racism. I know the definition of like racist of what I see, but there's so many different ones that I can't really choose which one or tell you which one is right.
I think that's fair. You know what? I'll say this. I think that's fair, but aren't you aware that racism, it's also a belief too, as well as a system? It's an idea as well.
Yes, I do agree.
Because you can't, because I think you would agree with me when I tell you this, you can't really build a system without building it on a foundation of beliefs, principles, and ideas,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it starts with an idea first. So if the belief is that one group is superior over the other, and you build the infrastructure for the sole purpose of suppressing said group, you would say that that is racist or racism. Is that right?
Yes.
And also, you would say racist, because also the term racist is also a belief system. If you or an individual believe that you are superior to another group of people and they are inferior, you are superior, that also makes you a racist too. And so by that definition, anybody could be that.
Correct,
Yeah.
but I don't think we can really have like a. I mean, I can feel like
As a belief. So just to finish it off. I'm sorry, not to cut you off, but just to finish it off, racism is not only a system, but it's an ideology and a belief. So any human being can have an idea or a belief. That's why it's true, as far as the statement is concerned, that anybody can be racist, because anybody can have an idea or a belief.
Right. That's why I just the racism thing part is the which is like getting me, because I'm like, I don't think like they can experience racism to like just me personally.
Yeah, you're talking about systemic racism.
Yes.
So I'll give you this. So technically, you're halfway right in the sense that African Americans have not systematically held white people down in the United States, in the West, right, due to their race. So technically, you would be right. But I would argue that the tides are changing now as far as African Americans generating more wealth, creating more businesses. They have a huge spending power as well, getting to a position of power, becoming shareholders, CEOs. And so, if not to say this has happened yet, but it could, if you have a company that's owned, dominated by African Americans, and they deny white people, right, due to their race and not hire them, that is systemic racism. Like I said, I'm not saying that has happened, right, but it could happen.
Yeah, it
So,
could.
but isn't that fear mongering? Because
No,
also, but I think that is fear mongering because it has no historical backing. Because when because when Black Americans did own our towns, and when Black Americans were in the power of our towns, we were business owner, doctors, inventors, all this. Guess what didn't happen? We did not put a foot, a boot on any white T person's neck, right? So when it comes to the definition of racism, I think it's kind of fascinating and kind of silly because you wouldn't tell a victim, a woman, a victim of grape, right?
right.
If a woman was raped, you wouldn't now go to the rapist and have him write the definition of grape, right?
No,
That would be that.
I'm listening. Go ahead. You're muted. You're muted. He's muted.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
if he knows
who it
that.
was. Can you unmute him?
Yeah, he's muted because he was saying something and he got.
It doesn't let me unmute him, but I did not mute him. I'm not sure
That's
what
so
happened there.
weird. Okay, so yeah, so I guess I'll respond to.
Well, let me drop him. I'm gonna bring him back up, see if that helps.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna respond to him. So I think the problem with this discussion is that people are trying to redefine what racism is. I think that's sort of the problem. You have the Oxford Dictionary definition, Merriam-Webster, Cambridge, whatever you want to call it. They are clear as far as what the definition of racism is, but you have people who tried to take that and redefine it. I think that's sort of the issue.
May I say something?
Sure, but Simon, if you're in the comments, man, request to come up here and I'll bring you up here. I'm not sure what happened earlier, but yeah, go ahead.
No, I'll let someone else speak. That's all I wanted to say. I think it's just the problem is that people are trying to redefine terms, and I think people use the term so much so to the point to where it's starting to lose its value and lose its meaning. And I think we have to start there. Definitions are there for a reason. They give us an idea of what a concept is. But then when you have people try to redefine it, I think that's sort of where the problem begins. And just to sum it up, I think, again, when you talk about racism, you're limiting the definition only to systemic, being a system, because that is one of the definitions. Not only is racism systemic, but it can also be an ideology or a belief too. That's what ism means. Ism is a suffix, and it also means system, but it also means idea, way of, or belief.
Right.
Hello?
Just so you know, Osa, Simon's back. What's up, MJ?
Yeah, I would like to say something if it would be all right.
Sure.
You know, the Dark Truth gentleman, I've listened to some of his lives, and, you know, if it looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, it's a turkey. No, it's a duck. And what's done in the dark is revealed in the light. My dad was a Baptist minister, and we were so poor, brother, we couldn't pay attention, okay? And I will tell you, if anyone wants to deny this, they're not telling the truth, but the black race is more forgiving in regards to monetary things. You can not have a whole lot, and they'll accept you much better than, you know, most other races. So when I grew up, the only friends that I had really, because we moved around a lot, were black people. And as time progressed, I have 3 girls and 2 of my daughters. With them, I have 5 interracial grandchildren. Now, the Dark Truth gentleman says you can't, you know, tell us how it is to be black. I would have to ask him then, how is it that you want retribution because of what went on with the slaves when you never were a slave? You can't have it both ways. It's got to be either one or the other. And then even to go one step further on that, what my great grandfather did is no responsibility to me. I'm not responsible for his actions. I'm responsible solely for mine. And that's it. Now,
So
if we want to,
respectfully, wait. So respectfully, I'll take both of those questions, right?
well, I'm not through.
But
I'm
yeah,
not,
wait. When you
I'm
when
not,
you're finished,
wait,
yeah,
wait,
go
wait,
ahead.
wait.
You need to
Yeah,
let him finish and be respectful, please.
thank you. Okay. So as I was saying, and it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm speaking to the gentleman who's putting on the live. If I wanted to get your answer, with no disrespect, sir, I would go to your live. So I would appreciate that when I address something to that person I'm addressing it to, you're just a guest while I'm speaking, if you don't mind, please. I hope that's not disrespectful. Now, let me continue. That being said, the real problem is, and no one seems to agree with this, and it's got terrible. There's only one race, and that's human. Let's just break it down. I am a faith-believing Christian. When I die, I'm going to go to heaven, and I'm going to be judged solely off of my works, nothing else. And if we could step back and look and realize that we're all the same. I agree to a degree that the 1% is playing us like a fiddle. They are controlling us through our own actions and ignorance. Let's get together, forget about race, and see how we as a human race can prosper. There's so many things going bad in the world to make racism something. We have old people eating dog food. I'm a 100% disabled veteran. We have veterans dying every day and can't get medical care. Brother, what do you think about this?
Are you asking me?
Yes, sir.
Well, yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I do think that we are just one race, the human race. And if I could, I would stop applying race to everything, whether it's an application, whether it's whatever. I don't think we should talk about race, but unfortunately, we are. And we are because of politics and many different other things, because they use that as part of their campaign, and they use that because they have to at this point. And so we're never going to stop talking about race, unfortunately. But the only thing we can try to do is unite, and it's never going to be 100%. But right now, I think what's happening is now, like, being openly racist towards white people, or in this at this moment, anti-Semitism, because of everything that's going on with Palestine and Israel. I think all these things should not be happening in 2024 because we've progressed so far. And MJ, what you said about having interracial family members, some people will say you're tokenizing, and they'll tell you to stop saying that. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'll let Simon.
I have one question.
I could say that if they want to say that I'm tokenizing, then I would say you're being ignorant, trying to describe about what it's like slavery days when you've never experienced it. So if you want to say I'm tokenizing something that I've experienced as a life experience, why are you allowed to share your life experiences, but I'm not? So it always boils down, to be honest, to who really wants to be with themselves and who wants just to try to support a talking point. This is something that I've experienced in daily life. I'm 63. I'll be 64 in September. I love them babies just like my youngest daughter. I've never had a grandmother that had anything to do with me. My mother's mother was a drunk. She died when I was real young. My dad's mother lived in Michigan. And I now have a granny, my youngest daughter, her two oldest children, her father, his mother is his granny is now my granny. She loves me. I call her granny. She treats me just the same, buys me stuff, checks on me. It don't matter to me, man, but I just get frustrated and I'm sorry if I sound disrespectful to you, but I hate the word token. People use that because they're ignorant and a way to try to justify something when they really don't want to admit the truth.
But you go all the way back to slavery, like
Wait, hold on,
the
wait. Can't,
segregation. I just wanted to say he goes back to all the way to slavery. Like segregation wasn't.
Yeah, Ari, I was just about to say that. I was just about to say that, MJ. Like, I get where you're coming from, but there's some people who have a grandparent or maybe even a mother or father who did live through, Jim Crow laws and stuff like that. But I
Not
see what you're saying,
slavery.
MJ.
Not slavery.
so
Hold
can
on.
I
This is
can
not
can I
slavery.
end? Can I
Yes,
put
sir.
this on the
Yes,
table?
sir.
I
Yes,
think
sir.
it's strange, right? In this month of Juneteenth, okay, in this very month, this Juneteenth month, I find it ironic that YT sympathizing or YT vitriol is the topic, right? I find that very strange because uh he talks about going back to slavery when we're actually in the actual month where all the slaves was free, right? And guess what? I understand when YT people like to say, "Oh, my family never owned a slave."
If you're gonna continue
Oh,
this
so
conversation,
so you're not going to be
excuse me.
respectful.
Excuse me.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so
I
you're
do not.
not going to be
YT,
respectful. You
if you want to
see?
call me,
Excuse
if you
me?
want to
So
call me
you're
a
not
name,
going to
call
be.
me.
Wait, hold
Oh
on,
my
MJ.
God!
I
Stop.
do
Keep it
not want to
guys,
hear the
guys,
word
guys, guys.
YT.
Juneteenth get them
This is
every
sad.
time, yo.
No,
Stop.
Let's
no
keep it
YT.
respectful. Let's keep it respectful, one at a time. We
All
can't
right.
talk over each
Yeah.
other.
MJ, I don't like to mute people, man. So let's just let him finish. All right. And then we'll let you respond to that.
So yes, Juneteenth gets the YT attitude gets it boiling very quickly. Because what Juneteenth does is it makes them realize that that 4th of July holiday they've been celebrating this whole time is actually the day slavery became legal, right? All right. It was it, since he's the one who brought it up. He wanted to bring up slavery, so I'm just gonna ride that coattail. Thank you.
That's
Right?
fine. That's
It's
fine,
your
brother.
hey,
No
be
problem.
respectful, sir. Sit on your
No, I'm
hands,
just
Mr.
agreeing with
Mike.
you. I'm
Hey,
sorry.
Karen. Hey,
Yeah.
I don't need your approval. That's the funny part, right? So
You're right. It is funny.
since you brought up slavery, right? The funny thing is this nation was under the British rule for a while, right? And then in 1776
Yes.
they had a chance. They actually had a chance to fix this whole thing. But you know what they chose to do? They chose to do the complete wrong thing. They chose to make slavery completely legal, right? And then they celebrated 4th of July this whole time. But then when Juneteenth becomes 100 years later, by the way, of the Revolutionary War and the Civil War were not the same day. I think a lot of YT migrants think these things happened back to back.
I'm
They
sorry
did
you
not
used that
happen.
word.
Hey, sir, when I'm speaking, you put a hot dog in your mouth, right? And
Yeah, you
shut
need
it.
to be respectful.
All right.
He did the
Well,
same
hold
for
on.
you.
No, I'm
Yourself.
speaking.
Defend
I'm
yourself. I'm a
speaking.
grown man like
All
you.
right. You need to put
yourself.
bread. Stuff it. Hey,
Defend
stuff it,
yourself.
sir. Stuff it.
Hold
You
on,
might
hold on,
want to
hold on,
take
hold
your
on.
own
Hold on.
advice.
I
Stuff
mean,
it.
we gotta land the plane though. At
Yeah.
some
No.
point.
Wait. Everybody else gets to speak. Wait. Time out,
Listen,
Osa. Everybody gets to play their violin. But when I become the musician, it's like, damn, that boy knows some funk, right? When I pull that bass guitar out, right? I get it.
No,
All right. So yeah, let me continue, please, sir, because I'm being respectful. I very right. So as I was saying, this country had a chance to fix it right then and there, but they chose not to. They chose to continue chattel, brutal slavery for another 100 years up until 1865, right? And then in 1865, you know what happened? There was an emancipation that happened. There was a freedom of actual people. This is the actual Freedom Day. June 19th is the actual Freedom Day for all U.S. citizens. And guess what? At that time, the government, capital GOV, agreed to Special Field Order 15, right? At that time, all these YT migrants or descendants of YT migrants today, yes, your family did not have any slaves because guess what? You just wasn't. I guess you're not good enough to be a plantation
May I ask a
descendant, right?
question? May I ask one?
I am Osa in a second. I already did this with you yesterday, Osa. So be patient. The fact is this: when all the Ellis Island immigrants and their families came over, guess what these Ellis Island immigrants did? They pledged allegiance to the United States government. All right, the YT plantation owner actually used your aunts, your grandmother, and your uncle and your aunts, used them as pawns, right? And made them agree to the debts of the United States of America. And when you migrate to a country, guess what you do? You pick up the debts and the law of this new country. When this country had already promised 40 acres in the mule, emancipation, special field order 15. These are all things that's in our legislation right now, right? So when white tea people say, well, why do you get to talk about the past and I had nothing to do with that? It doesn't matter. You pledged allegiance to this government's law. All right. You pledged allegiance to what this government said they would do. You pledged allegiance. So guess what? When your family became naturalized, you naturally now have pledged allegiance to what the law of this nation says you shall pay up to. And if you don't like it, you can go back home. Right? Because our issue isn't even with you local basic YT people. It's not with your basic self. Our issue is with the government. Your ancestors pledged allegiance to the government, the laws and promises of the government. So whatever trickles down to you, like I said, you can go back home if you don't like it, right? Last thing while I'm landing. We have
Yes,
trust
please
issues.
land.
Yeah. We have trust issues too, right? And you can't call our trust issues racist, right? I wouldn't even call our trust issues prejudice. I wouldn't call them bigot. I would probably call them prejudice, sure. But guess what? The prejudice, non-trust, the trust issues we have with white tea people, it's all evidentiary. We have all evidence to it because those same Ellis Island migrants and their family members are the main ones who joined, who pushed this very bad Jim Crow and redlining and all these other issues. It was really their immigrants who did that bad work because the plantation USA government told them, you can now call yourself YT. Because they wasn't calling themselves YT in Europe. Nah, they were actually their nationality. But the plantation government told these Ellis Islands migrants, you can call yourself YT if you treat the blacks like trash. That's what happened, and that's why you shall pay for the sins of your father. Because not only did they agree to the government's law, they actually participated in the government's law. Right? I'll chill for a second. I know the YT supremacists. Their thumbs are tight right now. They're sweating. They're they're turning red. I'll go on mute.
You mind if I? Well, I know I want to let other people speak too, so I'll mute for now.
Yeah, I mean, also you could speak if you like, man. I know you try to, but yeah, go for it, and then